I really love this quote from Sir Arthur C. Clarke. Because for me, like the last 18 months, it really does feel like magic. I've never had so much fun at work. It's a little crazy, I'm not gonna lie, like we talked about, the pace of change, but it is so much fun, and it really feels magical, the things that are becoming possible. And we want to be at the leading edge of that change. So I will ask once again, are you ready? Yeah? All right. You ready to see something that feels like magic? Yeah? All right. Well, it's my great pleasure to bring up to the stage two of the coolest dudes in tech, two guys that I get the pleasure of working with and calling my friends. Please welcome Victor Monsch and Tim Benniks to the stage.
Thank you, Gurdeep. Super exciting to see the vision. Hi everyone, I'm Victor. I've worked with many of you here in the room in your evaluation and adoption of Contentstack. With me is my friend Tim, who was very much involved in every aspect of our products. As you can see, he's already on his laptop.
We're ready to rock.
As a developer experience lead. We're kind of swapping places today, right? Usually I demo, but today you're doing this. For a little backstory, we also swapped countries somehow, right? So I'm French, you're Dutch. We ended up living in each other's home countries. But anyway, we make a good duo.
I only like your type of cheese, though.
Oh, good to know. So, what we're about to see with Agent OS and the experiences it helps you deliver is twofold, right? So first, the customer experience it helps you achieve, and then the way it supercharges your teams. Before jumping in, though, I'd love you to think about the experiences you create today and how you create them, right? The time and effort that go into them. What we're going to show will change how you create these experiences, of course, because it's going to make every user a power user, like Gurdeep said. This first demo is of the digital concierge, a front-end conversational AI, to expose to your customers. Over to you, Tim.
All right. So now we had all these amazing words about how cool this is supposed to be, right? This is the moment we actually show you. So I won't be saying all those words. We'll actually just demo this thing. So we do need to say that this is completely bleeding edge stuff. Like we're pushing our LLM partners like to the brink to do all this stuff. So hands in the air. Who wants to see me completely just do this thing live versus doing a video? I got one hand. Oh, there's a bunch of hands. OK, cool. So I did make a video this morning just to show you it works if those LLMs are starting to boink a little bit. Enough caveats. It's ready. So we've been talking about personalization, right? And so how it's all context-based, it has to be super adaptive, and AI is really helping you. And so we're talking about Red Panda here. And so if we can switch to my laptop, I'll show you the story here. So this is about the user, which is me. I really want to go on a lovely holiday to a place that's exotic. And so I want to go for a week, and I want to do all these lovely activities, be super adventurous, all those kind of things. And now I'm here on social media, and I actually just saw this post by the Red Panda Resort. And so this is really intriguing, you know, it's in the Maldives, and like this looks great. And they actually have a link to package offers. Well, of course, I'm going to click that. And so our personalization story is actually already starting here, but I gave a little bit of intent. I want to see these packages. And so when we actually open our data panel here, you won't have this on your production, but this is for us to show you all types of the interest that I already have exhibited, right? So I'm actually inbound from social here, but I'm still anonymous. So I was just given a little bit of an intent. And so I said I wanted to do all these like adventurous things. So let's have a look at reef snorkeling here. And so look at these pictures, man. I'm so ready to go. This is just, and look at this, sailing. Like, this is actually now already starting to be a little bit more contextual to me, because we actually have a look at the data here. What is happening is that our data and insights, without the human interaction of making rules, it started to infer that I have a lookalike model. I might be a Premier customer, and it's starting to give some scoring towards that. And so this is basically the AI kind of self-driving based on what it sees in the data of how other potentially Premier customers are acting. And so when I now continue to, let's say, parasailing here, this is again one of those kind of experiences where that should start to be more Premier. And actually, it just figured out that I clicked more than enough. I exhibited all these kind of traits of Premier customers. It's like, let's just try and upsell this thing, because why not? And so the context is growing, but the audience is getting a little bit smaller. It's going to be much closer to me now. So now, we go back to the previous page. However, it's now a personalized variant that says, hey, I have a 4-day package for you. And so it already figured out all kind of these things I clicked on. So this is much higher context. And so what just popped here on the right is our concierge. So when you look back at the slide just before that Victor was showing, this is our digital concierge in Agent OS. I said I wanted to go a week, right? So let's just ask it and see what happens. So now the Agent OS is spinning up. It's figuring out, hey, do we actually have a 6-day product? Well, as it turns out, it did. It just replied, perfect. I just applied your 6-day, and now we are a 6-day thrill seeker. And so, actually, I want to go diving. I haven't done it in a while, but that's like one part of this Maldives experience, right? So I'm just going to ask it. Typing under pressure is the way, by the way. That's fun. It seems to be going. Actually, it found, okay, there's scuba diving. Yeah, I saw that link before. But it's adding me if I have a PADI open water certification. Well, actually, I do, because I've been diving before. I'll just say, oh, yeah, sure, let's go. And so what you'll see here now is that the agent comes back with, okay, well, if you have it, we can actually replace any of those activities that you have here with scuba diving. So let's just replace jet skiing. And so what you see here, that we're creating this package specifically for people, hyper-personalizing, and the AI is doing this. This is completely adaptive to me, because this package that we just created that now has scuba, you can actually have a look at this. If Victor would do this, it might be a different package. This is not a specific product that I set up. Of course, you set the rules of which packages you have, but the AI and digital and our data and insights figures this out for you. So we are now one step away from making it fully personalized. And if we actually have a quick look before we make it like an audience of one, you can see I'm now PADI certified here, which means this agent was able to actually put me in an audience. It's all completely interconnected. So now let's book, and now we can really test my typing skills. And also, these are not my actual credentials. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right, we are in. All right, so now I don't want to save this credit card. So now that we paid, what just happened is that our agent figured out that in our data sources that are coming into our CDP, there's actually a Salesforce connection. So when we have a look at this data, what is one of the most important things, in my opinion, is that when you look down here, suddenly there's all my interests, because I've been browsing this website before. I just started anonymously, and I came into becoming known. And so now it has merged those profiles. So it knows all about my interest, and you can do a lot more personalization type experiences with this. And so we can actually now also open the customer tab, and you can see this. I spent an ungodly amount at this company, because
Wow.
I've been testing this literally every day.
You're rich.
Safe to say, I'm a Premier customer. I spent over $1,000 at this place. And so it actually found my phone number, all the things. Again, you're not going to have this on your production website, but it shows you that we're able to have this data and insights platform figure those things out for you, merge the stuff. And so what we just saw is I went from completely anonymous, showed a little bit of intent, and the context started to build. We had all the adaptive stuff happening, right? This is completely data-driven, and the AI was actually self-driving for a lot of it. And we went to hyper-personalization. And hopefully this actually showed what Gurdeep was explaining, how well this worked, because I completely converted to this. Of course, it's a demo, but if you do this smartly for your products, you will see conversion skyrocket, because the real personalization is that you don't really notice first, and over time it gets better and better, and it's fully adapted to you. And then when you try to upsell, you will get that conversion. So that's this for demo number 1. So let's go back to Victor and also the slides. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tim. Very cool demo. Thank you. And of course, this is one example of what you can build with Agent2S. So to recap, we just saw Tim start from a social media campaign, land on the website, unknown, and yet we knew some things about him, right? So we could have, right, we had that context, we could have started applying rules-based personalization, right? It still works, it's still useful. We didn't, that's fine. Obviously, the behavior he showed was flagged as likely to become a premier customer, right? That's literally flagged by the machine learning model called a lookalike model. So it looks like our actual premier customers based on this behavior. Again, that's more context, right? That's why you got the upsell offer, which is reasoning-based, right? So it's not us specifically saying, oh, if you clicked this many pages or whatever, it's, oh, based on that lookalike model, then it can get an upsell. Tailored package, right, based on his interests. Again, additional context, we're still building it up. The digital concierge, that knew what was possible, very important, and required, like the party certification, also important. So really made his own package, right? He might not have bought it as is. And that's kind of ending up to the perfect package for Tim, right? It's for a longer duration, for the right activities, again, additional context of what he wants to do, what he likes. Here we're really getting into very dynamic one-to-one personalization. That's really the package for him, and what some might call hyper-personalization, because it's AI-driven as well. And of course, he went and booked, which was also quite expensive, and yeah, added to his profile, to all his past purchases. And that's kind of the peak context we reached in that demo. Right? In reality, it doesn't stop there, of course. Even if you're logged in or you converted, you can still learn more about your customers, so it continues building up. So again, Tim, you went through multiple stages of personalization, right? Because Contentstack adapted based on the context available at the time. Beyond the experience itself, and that's really cool, what happens behind the scenes is that the digital concierge agent fetches all the sources of data, right? In this case, our commerce catalog, right? So it doesn't have to be something that's statically written in Contentstack or anything. That's very, very powerful, because agents can use any external tool, right? We'll go deeper on this point afterwards. In essence, Tim just went from 30 minutes of browsing to 5 minutes of guided experience, right? And customers today, they don't necessarily expect personalization or an agent, but they expect this kind of easy journey. That's what those two things allow you to achieve. And beyond the customer delight, that's pretty obvious, right? This has a direct correlation with your conversion rate, with your revenue, right? We just saw Tim convert, thanks to the agent. Now, this is very cool, but there's still a question mark right on the screen. So that's only a small aspect of Agent2S. Now we're about to see Polaris and custom agents and how it works. That's where you shine again.
All right. Well, let's do this again. And so let's start with a little bit of a story about the fact like this platform is a team buy, right? It's not just for your end users. It's also for you, the content creators, the developers, all that stuff. And so the story about Red Panda is that generally, if you look historically, relaxation is by far what we think about when something is actually a premier customer. More luxurious would be better champagne, more being alone on a beach, things like that. But what we noticed is that actually I just wanted to do water sports and other stuff that is also expensive. And so we kind of need to figure out a little bit, like, have we found the right opportunity based on the data that we personalized exactly for these people? Because we, of course, want more Premier customers, right? We want more people to convert there. And so let me show you the tools that we have inside Contentstack to actually get you there. So can we switch, please? Thank you. All right, so we are now looking at our Audience Insights tool, which is like an opportunity explorer. And I don't say this lightly, I've never seen this in our space, and I've been here a while. This is crazy. So this is essentially having like a data scientist in your back pocket. Like, this is completely the nexus between your CMS and your content and the data of how users actually interact with that. And so when we look at this, this is prevalence versus Premier likelihood. So prevalence is the way up, right? So culture, food, relaxation, there's a lot of content items already there because, of course, that's what we thought. Let's add more relaxation content because people might convert. But that's on the standard customer side here, right? So when we actually go to the right, you'll see more to the right is what more likely Premier customers are actually browsing. And so we did notice adventure. So there is some content here, but there's definitely here on the right, like hiking, all-inclusive, things like that. There's a definite ability to win. If we make content there, and you see where people are actually browsing, you start to convert more. And the bigger the bubble, the more people. And so what is actually a really interesting one here is we can actually look at this over time. So last year, the content, it's still there. Last year, the content was much more relaxation and much more in the middle, right? Because we didn't really know exactly what Premier customers were doing. And then while this website was up and people were browsing, you can actually see that things are moving. And these are not just 2 data points. What you have to consider is that this is a trajectory or an inertia of where people are going to go in the future. And we can really kind of figure out what is our opportunity. But this is Agent OS. Like, I just gave you 15 sentences to explain it, but what if we just ask Polaris, right? So we have the Polaris agent that helps you with all the things inside Contentstack. So I can just ask anything and we'll see. The best content opportunity.
Opportunity.
Yep, there we go. No, that's not too bad. This week. And so now Polaris will go to our orchestrator agent, and that orchestrator agent figures out what kind of abilities and toolings do I have around. And you saw that it actually found the agent tool for opportunities. So let's just render, I'll show you. And so when you open this up, you can actually see the agent tool for opportunities was found, which is an automation. And before I explain what we can do after this, the fact that it's an automation means that you have controlled it and you have controlled the scope of what data it can see. You can actually set that up yourself. Well, it's actually giving us a bunch of numbers. And then the best opportunities are like in topics like hiking, story ideas, thrills. So I'm going to do something now that you probably have not seen. And this is also where I really hope it works. Here we go. Create a page about the thrills of hiking on the Maldives. Use our hiking assets, because we already have some images. So I am now essentially just giving another completely different query than before, which is just this interface is kind of non-deterministic. I can just throw something in, and it will come back because it knows exactly based on what you've given it. It starts to reason, and it comes back with what you need. And so what comes back is actually more deterministic. We asked for a page, and what you see with this reasoning here is that our whole army of agents is now actually running, right? If we want to make a page, if you know Contentstack, you know we have an entry editor, right? So we have to make an entry. And then we have a content type agent, because I just wrote page. I could have written landing page or whatever. And so this agent needs to figure out, what is a page? What is the content type? What are the fields? Do I have images about hiking? All of that stuff. And so just step back and think how long it would take you to make a really good landing page that's personalized with all the images you have. That's going to take a second, right? And here it's also taking a second, but most likely 2-3 minutes. So while this runs, because it has to do some important work, I'm going to just show you what our custom agents look like, right? So that's the middle bit that both Victor and Gurdeep were showing. And so you can, I'll just go back quickly. What you can do to an agent is you can just, like you have probably seen that before with people who talk to, let's say, ChatGPT, you are a experienced writer, blah, blah, blah. That part you can do here as well, but you can also give additional instructions and you can give specific output formatting. Like, you don't always have to do this. Our base agents have this embedded, but you can. And that's where this gets very interesting, because then the next step is what makes it extremely powerful. This is where you can give the agent its abilities. So you can give it automations that you have created, so you know it goes in and comes out. You can actually give it sub-agents. Like in this case, this custom agent has the entry agent, and let's also just give it the asset agent. And so these sub-agents become tools for the orchestrator agent or your custom agent, which then have, how many times did I say agent just now? Like, I just realized, this is crazy. Anyways, they can do their own things as well. But where it gets actually really clever is if you know our automate tooling, you know you have actions, right? And all these actions will be tools and abilities for your agents as well, right? We can deploy, we can do any sort of triggers, we can talk to Slack or Teams or update a database somewhere or do a fetch call, HTTP, anything you want. And so what this means is that you can make an agent really quite deterministic. And this is what I think this is why Contentstack is really nailing this part, because without this, as a business, you never really know what comes out of these agents. But with this, you can really be much more specific. And so I know from a few in the room that you're quite technical. I won't go too deep. But all this is based on MCP. And all these abilities are dynamic tools that are given over this protocol. And in the coming months, we'll be doing much more releases around that also for the tech crowd. Okay, let's see if it finished our page. It looks like it did. So let's not go into the reasoning. Let's just open this thing in Visual Builder. And it made the thrills of hiking in the Maldives. And here's our page. And so just consider, I just wrote one sentence, give me a page. But we have BrandKit, so it knows our language. It has a knowledge vault, like Nea said so well. It's a factor database, so it knows everything about us. And it just realized, well, we have a bunch of hiking pictures here, so it put this as a hero. And you should know, we told the agent we like hero components, so it did that for us, right? You can kind of control this. So when we scroll down, like I haven't seen this, right? This is the first time I'm seeing this, so let's see what it came up with. All this copy comes out of our BrandKit voices, so it knows that it works for us. Look at this. Normally, I have to fix a few things before I save, but actually, I don't have to this time.
Yeah, there's actually a hiking banner text right above here. So, too far.
What happened?
This image on the right, hiking banner.
This one can be better, right?
The one on the right, bottom right, we can change the text.
Oh, hiking banner, yeah. So what this is an incredible starting point for you, right? And then this doesn't actually replace content editors. This just knows your rules and gives you a base, and then you rock. You do what you need to do. So hiking, fishing, because we're all about the fishing today. Okay, let's save this bad boy. So now that I'm here, I really want to show you a few additional tools that have been out for a while at Contentstack, but it's just important for you as content editors to know what you can do, because this is still a personalization story, right? We just made the thrills of hiking. But what if you want to go hiking with like a family, when you have a bunch of 10-year-olds? The thrills of hiking on an island with a lot of rocks might be a little, like maybe just we change that copy a little. Right, so here we go to the traveler group for family. This is one of our variants. And so the family audience, we can now make a new variant for. And so what I can do, I'm not going to type copy here. Like, I just don't want to. So what I can do is I go to our AI assistant. And this AI assistant actually knows BrandKit. So I can select our BrandKit specifically for Red Panda. And then what you see here, it already knows I'm personalizing for a family. So let me just hit this button and let it rewrite with that audience in mind. So discover the joys of hiking. I'm not sure this is the best line ever, but it certainly knew the audience and changed it up because the thrills is not really something that works. I do want a different image though. So we can just go and find a lovely hiking image with a family on it. Here we go. And so what you should know, once this actually comes out, I could also have asked Polaris, find me a hiking image for the hero, please, and it would just do that. Okay, so now that we have this, this is still the same base entry, but we only changed these two fields, so you can see these little, banners here. So let's deploy this one. However, I want to deploy this one for next week, because we first have to get some approvals, things like that. So let's just hit later, and then we're just going to go for the 18th and hit send. And so what this is doing now, this is now you know in your mind, okay, I have something going live next week. But wouldn't it be nice if we can actually show the differences? Because you can make releases with 10, 20 pages, and it's really hard to see those differences. So when I actually go to today, you'll see our page, obviously. When I go to next week, it's the same page because I haven't actually set my audience to being a family. So what you can do is actually go to Traveler Group and Family. And now we can see that difference. And so this kind of still looks kind of boring, right? But watch this. This is where it starts. I can even, I'm a tech guy. Look at this. This is look at the differences and everything. And you can say, well, let's make this desktop, make it smaller. You can see all the things and really check is this exactly what you wanted. And so what we just did is probably, I'm just looking at the timer, I think this was 8 minutes of building this base page. That is actually good enough to really get you super far. And so Agent OS is so aware of your brand through BrandKit, but also through how these agents can reason and how we've set this up, that it was able to actually do this for us. And so with that, it's back to Victor. Thank you.
How amazing. And the LLMs worked, so.
It actually worked, guys.
Amazing. Now, most of the time it worked also yesterday and this morning, but you never know, right? The demo effect.
But to be honest, it's we're sitting at 90%.
Yeah, but still, you're yeah. Good to have the video, just in case.
Yes, all right.
So what we just saw is, of course, Polaris, right? This kind of AI companion within Contentstack. So we saw, let's say, an example use case. Could have been a bunch of other things, right? As well as the ability to create any agents, which also opens up unlimited possibilities. Tim just took his content creation process or drafting process from, let's say, 2 hours of figuring out, okay, what do I want the layout to be, what assets do I want, to 10 minutes or even less of curation with Polaris. This on its own, of course, is amazing, right? But it's only, again, a tiny aspect of what it could have done, right? It's a super short demo. As we've seen here, this kind of supercharges every team, right? From simplifying insights to accelerating content creation to even personalization or campaign management, right? Beyond today's use cases. But Agent OS often offers even more. Polaris and Digital Concierge are entry points into Agent OS with access to different capabilities, of course. We don't want somebody on the front end to create a page suddenly. So there's the kind of the conversational agents in Agent OS. There's also autonomous agents, which is really important, and I'll talk more about this in a second. Agents use tools, right? And Tim showed that really well. So the first tool, of course, is the Contentstack MCP, right? So Model Context Protocol for how, when, and why to use our APIs for the agents to figure that out, to be smart by themselves. So that's the main thing, right? When you say create an entry, well, it has to know, okay, which APIs do I call? But also custom tools. We saw, let's say, oh, send a Slack message, or send an email, or make an API request on your own, using maybe your automations, right? So if you have existing flows, they could also be reused throughout agents. And finally, of course, like we said before, it's third-party APIs and MCP servers, right? So it's really an entire ecosystem. It's not just 2 super powerful chatbots kind of on their own. It's this whole ecosystem. And I just talked about autonomous agents, right? That is huge. And that is partly why this is so different from what our competitors offer. Imagine, let's say, an agent watching content trends overnight, and your team logging in the morning with an article fully drafted based on recent news, or an agent looking for low-traffic products and enriching them for better discoverability. Or even agents watching SEO ranking, identifying low-ranking pages and suggesting optimizations. Right? You can literally make any agent you need, and you'll be able to start from templates. That's why we believe every team can benefit from agents in one way or another. Right? When we started, I asked you to think about your content creation process. Right? Of course, it always takes a while. And we just saw, right, the hiking banner thing. AI is not perfect. We still very much need humans. Even with BrainKit, with everything else, it's much better. It's never 100%. We need humans. And here, Tim saved, let's say, hours of time, right, while focusing on the right things. Right? It's not just speed. It's also what you do, what matters most. And like him, agents can make your team much more powerful. And that was Agent OS. We're very excited for you to create with it soon. Thank you. And back to Gurdeep.
Yeah, okay, let me just have it. Guys, great job.
Wow. That was awesome. You can kind of see, I see it happening in real time where we're starting to take AI for granted almost. Like rewind a year ago and think about some of the stuff that you just saw. It wasn't even in a figment in our imagination. So when I say the way we work is going to change, that's what I mean. The way you work with Contentstack, the roles are going to change. This all ties to the change management topic. Marketing operations, web dev, content editors. The way we work is going to change. What you just saw is not possible with any other solution in the world. I can say that with 100% confidence today. So we're really proud of that. We have solved for scale. We have solved for context. And we're giving you the power to be adaptive. We made a pretty bold statement this week and said content management as we know it is dead. And that's because the things that used to matter aren't going to matter anymore. It's all changing. But I see this as an opportunity for you to lead yourself into the next chapter of your career and to lead your companies into this new era and their new chapter of growth. So let's recap. We showed you how you can unlock adaptive and how it's all based on this shift to reasoning-based personalization. We showed you under the hood of Agent OS as the foundation for building and deploying agents and automations, which enhances the experience of not just your customers, but your internal teams as well. We have a booth in the expo hall. If you want to learn more, stop by. We call it the Innovation Station, but you can learn all about as deep as you want to go, basically, on Agent OS and the entire Contentstack Edge platform. For those of you watching online, go check out contentstack.com to learn more. I would like to thank you very, very much for being here today on behalf of my team who worked really hard to put this event together. I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. And with that, I'd like to welcome Sonia back to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So that was so interesting. I was at the back scribbling away notes, so much information and development. I'm sure that that's got your imagination going wild on what's possible and what your brands can achieve with this new Contentstack platform. Before I excuse us all for our 15 minutes break, I want to give a big shout out to Richard and Aoife and Simon and Miranda, who are somewhere in the crowd. And if that's you, please stand up, raise your hand, because you have started posting on LinkedIn. I'm not saying it's a competition. Miranda's at the front. But I am saying that this is called Content Con, and we've heard it first. Content is data. So if you do want to go, grab yourself a nice, quick coffee and visit the Contentstack booth. If you could come back in 15 minutes, that'd be awesome. And you know what? If you're networking for the first time, like many of us are, or you need some help to get things going, I encourage some dopamine questions. So I've got 2 for you, and I want to know if you ask anyone. 1, what's the weirdest thing that happened to you this summer? And turns out people do want to share. And the second is, how are you using AI tools to improve your life? And actually, which resources can you recommend? So on that note, we'll see you back here in 15 for our first customer section. And remember, the hashtag is #ContentCon25.